Hello, and welcome back once again to Infinite Jeff, the project where I, Jeff, read the book Infinite Jest to you, one page at a time, one day at a time. I read it, I put it up on the internet for anyone to listen to who would like to at all. Let's just jive right in today. Gonna knock these out real quick, then I gotta work. But then I have the next week off, so that's good. So, here we go. Page number 256 of Infinite Jest. Here we are. The what? That's just what the grief therapist said. The professional literature had a whole bold font section on abrupt pauses in high affect speech. The grief therapist was now leaning way forward at the waist. His lips were wet. I was in the zone, therapeutically speaking. I felt on top of things for the first time in a long time. I broke eye contact with him. That I'd been hungry, I muttered. Come again? That's just what he said, the grief therapist. I muttered that it was nothing, that it damn sure wasn't my fault that I had the reaction I did when I came through the front door of HMH before I came into the kitchen to get to the basement stairs and found him with his head in what was left of the microwave. When I first came in and was still in the foyer trying to get my shoes off without putting the dirty laundry bag down on white carpet and hopping around and couldn't be expected to have any idea what had happened. I said nobody can choose or have any control over their first unconscious thoughts or reactions when they come into a house. I said it wasn't my fault that my first unconscious thought turned out to be, Jesus, kid, what? That something smelled delicious! I screamed. The force of my shriek almost sent the grief therapist over backwards in his leather chair. A couple credentials fell off the wall. I bent over in my own non-leather chair as if for a crash landing. I put a hand to each temple and rocked back and forth in the chair weeping. It came out in sobs and screams. That it had been 4 hours plus since lunchtime, and I'd worked hard and played hard, and I was starved. That the saliva had started the minute I came through the door. That, golly, something smells delicious was my first reaction. But you forgave yourself. I absolved myself within 7 minutes left in the session right there in full approving view of the grief therapist. He was ecstatic. By the end, I swear his side of the desk was half a meter off the floor. At my grief therapist textbook breakdown into genuine affect and trauma and guilt and textbook ear-splitting grief, then absolution. Christ on a jet ski, Hallie. Ellipses. But you got through it. You really did grieve, and you can tell me what it was like, so I can say something generic but convincing about loss and grief for Helen for a moment. But I'd omitted that somehow the single most nightmarishly compelling thing about this top grief therapist was that his hands were never visible. The dreadfulness of the whole 6 weeks somehow coalesced around the issue of the guy's hands. His hands never emerged from underneath his desk. It was as if his arms terminated at the elbow. Besides mustache, we end on a hyphen, so a compound word, I'm guessing. That was page number 256 of this book, Infinite Jest. And, a short one today. So, they go quick when it's dialogue. Good night.